Next up is Kunal Mehta. He's talking about traveler-facing workflows where AccessMap and end-to-end use in practice. But really, I love this talk that Kunal put together because it gives us an idea going back to the beginning of today in terms of how some of these tools really impact downstream users who require more independence and freedom in the public right away.
Hi everyone, my name is Kunal Mehta. I'm so relieved that this is towards the end of the day, not because everybody is tired, but because so many things are already explained, so no complaints makes my job much, much easier. Drawing from Anat's presentation about building walk sheds, drawing from Laura's presentation about I heard the last part where you said, let's get regular people into data, and like, yeah, that is what we want to do. So the idea is, and before I try to fly, thanks so much to Sam and Anat as well. So much work, so thank you so much. The idea is, there are still communities in Washington State that can be accessed only via cars. So if you don't have somebody to drive you, or if you cannot drive, access to basic services like education, health, employment might be taken away from you. And the idea is also that these things are not too far off from where people live, but and they are also accessible by transit in many cases, but they are not accessible for somebody who is trying to walk or roll. This is changing a little bit because the state now, through the funding, through the project where Tasker Center has collected all the data and mapped the whole state, there is now the ability to at least look at some of these gaps, as we saw in the previous session, and that's where I guess I want to pick up. What happens to the end user? I am a user. I need something better. I need some tools to plan my journeys better. That's where this data and the whole bit can also be so useful. And towards the end, we'll also talk about how communities can be more involved to make this data richer. So what I'm essentially going to do is talk a little bit about traveler-facing tools and how people use them, the issues they face, in real contexts, and the feedback loop that people can use to contribute. I do have earbud in my one of my ears because I'm just trying to follow along my slides. Now, what's the core issue? It's basically, people aren't able to make right decisions because, because of whatever reasons, right navigation decisions, people are not able to make. It can be because of lack of data. It can be because of lack of tooling to use the data, or it could again be infrastructural issues. There's a slide that talks about an AccessMap route. What this does is, a route card, or basically the ability to know how the route is, what it looks like, legible to every individual in a way that's most accessible to them, can make a difference, between somebody actually staying at home and moving out, and that contributes to the fundamental freedom. When we thought about data and decisions that people need to make in terms of their navigation. And we'll go into these levels a little bit in detail with some scenarios, but the idea is around the first level being big ticket decisions. I want to decide where to live, because I mean, I need access to right amenities, I need what I need, so where to live, and these can be, 1 to 5 year range at least. These decisions are, they cannot be made, in a haste. The other decision is a routine navigation decision where there are certain circumstances where I need to change my mode of travel for my routine journey. I live somewhere, I go somewhere, I need to now figure out an accessible or an easier way to, get where I need to and do what I need to. The third level is one-off trips where I need to go for a birthday party, I need to go visit a friend, I need to go dine at a restaurant. So that's what we're calling the one-off navigation decision. And what this, these decisions might be different, they might have different consequences, but what the underlying data that's being used, the underlying issues that surface, mostly remain the same. A curb cut, a missing curb ramp can impact all the three decision makers, right? So coming to the first level, John is blind and he needs to decide between two apartments, and his questions mainly can be: do I have access to my grocery? Do I have access to transit because I cannot drive? I don't drive. Is it safe enough to navigate? That supports my skill and mobility independence. Through Walkshed, as we've seen, we are already answering questions around access to transit. Walksheds are also answering questions around amenities, where the data for the kinds of amenities that's available. The target, and as Anat mentioned, is also to have access to goods score that integrates these amenities, the transit, and the whole livability in the sense. So it's not just, okay, yes, it's important to know walkability, where can I get in 15 minutes, but it's not just about getting to the bus stop. It's also about taking the ride and getting to where you need to. So this core that we are working on should provide a connected aspect where one knows how easy or difficult it is quantitatively to get from point A to point B. Coming to John's story again, John learns about, he looks at walksheds and learns about apartments that he's looking at, the surroundings, verifies the data and realizes that a couple of places the APS, or the audible pedestrian signal, is missing. So now he has the ability to approach the jurisdiction, give probably a screenshot of the walkshed and say, that it's verified and he doesn't have something, and get a time commitment from the jurisdiction as to, if it's fixable and by when it could be fixed. Let's compare this to a scenario where John actually moves in to the apartment and then realizes this issue. It makes a world of difference. The second level of, again, decision making is, our persona here is Anne, where she's had an injury and she needs to use wheelchair for a year. She cannot change where she works, nor she can change where she lives. So now she needs to figure out the best mode to get to work every day. she uses AccessMap to figure out the best route and best means of getting somewhere. And this best means of getting might be different on different days because one day she might be constrained for time, the other day she might not be feeling too well, so she doesn't want to change too many buses or trains. So the idea is for her to get a transit priority route, and on maybe another day a time priority route. The third level, as we mentioned, is a one-off decision. Jamie lives in Ballard and he wants to, this is the FIFA season, right? So he wants to go to the FIFA fan engagement party because he couldn't get a ticket. So he needs to go to Everett. Now the issue is he gets to the nearest transit center, that's fine, but he doesn't know how to do the last bit of navigation where from the transit center he needs to go to the engagement zone, and that's where AccessMap helps him plan the route and do what he needs to, that is navigate. It basically helps alleviate or reduce uncertainty because it not only gives him a route, but he has it beforehand, so that uncertainty is reduced, and plus he then uses the end-to-end route following mode where he's actually able to use the same route that he already looked at while sitting at home. Now what's the summary of all these stories? Maybe scenarios are different, decisions are different, but the underlying needs are the same. And what this sort of helps us understand is, yes, there is data available, there are possibilities, but there's a lot more that we could do. And we all spoke about what data we all want. I'm pretty sure we all can have a mutually exclusive data point which is equally worthy, and that's the idea for around the specialized community impact opportunity fund that we'll talk about in a bit. I'll go through this section very quickly. Some research backing around issues with navigation. So we interviewed blind and low vision folks because it's the hardest. It's probably one of, okay, I don't want to say hardest or whatever, but it's one of the harder challenges for people to solve in terms of independent navigation. So when we interviewed, people said they had issues around tools being fragmented because I don't want to use 4 different apps to get from point A to point B. I don't want to, I'm worried about using my hands because I use a white cane and then I have my phone on hand, both my hands are taken. What if I need to carry something? I only have 2 hands. That was the other issue. Certain people said they needed to use earphones, but then that didn't give them enough cues about the environment, which is very important because you need to hear what's going on in the environment too. Some other people said, visual interpretation services are good, but they are not scalable, they are expensive. So yes, human assistance is still very important, even in this age of AI. And then when we asked them what do you hope, or what are your aspirations, they wanted to know, they wanted AI-powered solutions, they wanted wearables, they wanted customizability of verbosity because sometimes it's hard when you're given too much information, or it's also hard when you're given too less information. Contexts, different contexts, you might want different verbosity levels of information. They also wanted information about tactile landmarks and a couple of other things. The good news is AccessMap has a lot of these, but we also want a lot more data because we all know we all might want something new. So that's the invitation again to I guess let's work together in that sense to collect some data that we really need, and again the call to action towards thinking about applying for a SCLEO grant opportunity. The next is an example of Tasker Center's partnership with FIFA in using FIFA Seattle in using AccessMap for the Unity loop, and it is the FIFA season, so we had to bring in FIFA. No, it's not that we had to bring in, but I think it's nice. It's a cool thing. So what we did together with the local committee was that yes, AccessMap, there was already data on AccessMap through the OS Connect, but we also thought it's important to know more, to have more data about the businesses, to have some points where people are able to navigate from sidewalk to the entrance. So certain specialized data that was collectively mapped included door handles, positions, entrances that can really help people navigate better. In the last bit of navigation that they need to do.
Does that last map mean that we're going to go to the ice rink to party? Is that the ice rink? Yeah.
And the next slide is the specialized community community-led impact opportunity grant. That's the next tranche for which applications are closing on March 15th. So we've noted all the data that people spoke about, and if people don't apply, we'll have to give it to somebody else to collect the data. So please apply, and let's make the data richer, because that's going to again build and design tools that are more accessible and based on what people need. And the last bit is AccessMap. I know we mentioned about AccessMap. If people have the energy, or we could do this tomorrow during the walkabout. How are we with time?
We're 10 minutes.
Oh, cool. Maybe pull out your phone and accessmap.app is the URL, and open a route and see if you could add a comment on AccessMap in terms of what you need or what you see. Maybe it's more, also it'll be more useful to do it tomorrow, but this is a bit of a practice, and we love to see what's inspired you today. Of course.
You put, like, if I find a crack in a sidewalk, can I mark that as a marker point?
Yes. So on AccessMap and the other tool that is available, you are on the specific segment, and you can mark how wide the crack is, what the issue with the crack is, and if it tallies with what you see on the app. So and crack is a good example. Yes, we do have quests related to that, but you might have totally given us something that we wouldn't know, and that there is a possibility to add that into as a question or a quest to for people to for you to ask people.
So, sorry, so I'm actually showing on the screen I used the location locator on AccessMap to bring me to where I am. And then let's say I'm inspecting this particular point in the pedestrian path. It says it's concrete, but actually it's brick. So I'm going to share my feedback, and this is all accessible to screen reader. If I share my feedback, I can say whether the feature is located somewhere else than what it said, some inaccurate information. You can say that you want to add something that is missing, and this is exactly that opportunity to say, oh, you know what? I want to add the overhang that is here. I can sit under the tree. And then I can also make some other kind of comment and submit it. And this is also going to enhance the data with some of that information. Thank you. Your feedback was submitted. So these are other ways to let us know what you'd like to see in this data inventory. So, great question. At this point, so the cool thing about having OS Connect is that we now have identifiers for this data set. So when I clicked on that pathway, it has an ID in the back end of the OS Connect, and I know where that data applies. Now, given that it's textual information, at this point we don't have a way to provide that structured data back into the OS Connect data set. So that gets interpreted by us presently, but Aviv Scout Route gives you that structured data information, and so that goes directly into the digital data set. So that's kind of the difference between doing the Aviv Scout Route inventory collection, which goes directly to adding, basically OS Connect++ with very structured data formats, versus the AccessMap contributions, which are more natural language focused and allow people to say, oh, I really wish you'd let me know about this wastebasket over here, and then we'll be able to assess that. So going back to a little bit of what I was talking earlier about today, the stewardship process of including different types of users means that sometimes our tooling seems like, well, why do you have these two different ways of providing feedback? But as we said, different people have different thresholds or for use of technology, and we don't want to burden them with additional types of tools just to do basically the same thing. I see a question.
Yeah, I had a question.
I think it's for you.
I had a question kind of more around usage. Now that AccessMap is listed up on the local organizing website, I'm just curious if you're seeing a lot more usage, if you've had any sort of international people give general comments, and then during FIFA, do you plan on doing any sort of outreach or surveying or anything with people who are obviously new to the area who might be using AccessMap for the first time?
Yes. So it's recently listed as, I think this happened very recent. The partnership got finalized. So that's the hope, that more people would use it. And we will obviously also do everything in our control, such as talking to all of you, and hopefully you all can be AccessMap's brand ambassadors to let people know, there is an alternative to Apple Maps and Google Maps, that people can try out, and we would love to see traction. But yes, there's definitely been an increase, and Anat can correct me if I'm wrong. There, in terms of people with physical disabilities, people who generally use wheelchairs, there's been a steady use since 2018, 2019-ish. So yes, and now there's definitely more use by the blind and low vision community, because the non-visual experience has been up since about a year. So that's a little bit around, the usage.
I'm a little sad that you didn't go through your slide of your own personal optimism for the future.
I guess one can see AccessMap and see what my optimism maybe looks like to some extent, but the other part is also that, I would want some more data, as I said, running trails maybe. But definitely, for me, I think the favorite thing on AccessMap has been one, landmarks, because it tells me the buildings that I pass by, because I would have no knowledge of the places I'm passing by, and then sometimes even on campus there are so many cool places that you encounter, and that helps in conversations later on, saying, oh yeah, I passed by that Starbucks or whatever. The other bit is, I like customizability, because the route here, maybe I'm a little more familiar and I don't want as many verbal cues, but maybe elsewhere I do need them. So the ability to customize, and now we also have the ability to save user preferences, and it's saved locally, so there is no privacy issue. If I like verbal cues on my tactile landmarks, but I don't really need announcements on surface changes, I check that and I uncheck the surface changes, and that's saved and on my device locally, and next time I don't really need to change settings. And I know folks using wheelchairs appreciate this in terms of choosing their gradient levels in terms of what works for them and what doesn't. So I think customizability and the ability to save that is my second favorite.
Well, I'd like to thank Kunal. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's 5 p.m. Everyone can go home so that everyone can return on time tomorrow.
Yeah, we finished right on time. Thank you all for your participation today. I really value the input, and all of us value the input that you've had. You've remained engaged throughout the whole day, but tomorrow is a whole other day with a lot of different kinds of conversations, so I do hope you'll come back. Thanks so much. Have a great